Hey everybody, welcome Clearly Essential team to our monthly webinar. I'm Crystal Garvin and I'm here with Lacey Grimm, and I'm really excited to be here and doing this training with Lacey and hearing from her. She actually did a training at our last Elite retreat about joy in the journey, but it was during our breakout sessions. So I was teaching my own sessions at the same time, so I never got to hear it. And I looked at the handout and heard such great things, great feedback from people about the information she offered. And I think this is something that we all need to step back and think about why we're doing this and where we get joy throughout this journey of building our doTERRA businesses and sharing oils. So for those of you who don't know, Lacey and I are both diamonds, and we started this business about the same time. I was introduced through Tanya Cottrell, our blue diamond, and I just had a couple classes at my house, and she was at my very first class. And it was just a time when we thought we were going to start using oils. We really had no concept of building a big business or doing this, business thing long term, but we loved the oils, and she decided she wanted to have some classes, and I said I would help her out. And at the first class, we had different brands of oils, passing around, just having a good time talking about oils. We had some of our doTERRA oils. She had some of her other brands of oils. And I don't think she really even wanted to tell people, like, you can buy doTERRA oils. Didn't want to do a closing, which I think I insisted, like, let's at least tell people how to buy the oils if they want to. We won't pressure them. So it's funny to look back on now that we're both diamonds and in love with this opportunity, this business, our businesses, our company. We love our teams. She is the leader of the Oil Dorks team. So sometimes you see that floating around on social media. Love that. And she has been able to build a really successful business while being a stay-at-home mom and raising 4 children. And her husband, Drew, helps a lot with some of the business aspects as well. But she definitely was a big part of the inspiration for why I decided to jump in and treat this as a business when I was just loving the oils and kind of being selfish with them and sharing them when it was convenient, but not really treating this as a business and deciding if I was ready to step away from another business I had built. So I'll always be thankful for her inspiration and how she encourages me to step outside of the boxes that probably shouldn't even be there. Just get rid of the boxes.
What boxes?
Exactly. So that's my introduction. You can introduce yourself further if you would like to.
No, that's good. I mean, I think you made me better than I really am.
No, anytime I get a chance, I would love to do that. Lacey's amazing, and we're very thankful to have her on our team. And I love how our personalities and the way we approach our businesses is different, because she reminds me a lot of the times when I just need to step back and refocus and look at what really matters. So that's what we're going to be looking at today with Joy in the Journey topic. So she's going to have a PowerPoint to share with us. And we also have a handout, the one from the Elite Retreat, that I'll be able to link with this and share in the groups and in my Builder newsletter and things like that. I'll make sure you have access to the handout, because it's really great to follow along with that. If you happen to be watching the recording, you want to pause, find the handout and print it out. That might be really helpful to have that alongside watching this. So we can go ahead and stop our videos if you would like, and you can share your PowerPoint.
Okay. All right. So I threw this PowerPoint together. I hope you love it. The pictures are amazing and not mine at all, but they are free to use thanks to Google. Okay. And I think they're relevant too, because most of these things, I think, are places we should definitely find joy. Well, anyway, so Crystal actually assigned me this topic before Elite Retreat, and I thought, what? I don't know that I'm an expert on that, but I do feel like it has been something that I've really been working on for the last year. I've kind of felt a little bit maybe stale in my building and just kind of not stuck. That's not the word I want to use, but just not moving the way that I was in the beginning. And it wasn't feeling as natural and as comfortable and as sort of fun as it had been at the start. And so I've been really seriously taking some steps back to reevaluate. And I think a lot of this kind of is pulling together all those things that I've sort of discovered and continue to discover through personal development, but also through just reminding myself, why do I do doTERRA? What was appealing to me in the first place? And I hope that you can take some information from this and apply it to your business, so that not only will you enjoy your business more, but you probably will find more success too. Because what I've noticed is that if you're doing these things out of passion and love and joy, then you'll see more success than if you're doing it with other motivations in mind. So I'm going to start just with a kind of definition. I have some notes here. I'm going to try to stay on track here so we don't go for hours and hours like I could if I wanted to. But really, I want to remind everybody, and a lot of this is just going to be reminding you of what you probably already know, but that joy should be our ultimate measure of success. It's not rank and not paycheck and not possessions. So what, first of all, is joy, and how do we find that? How do we focus on that? We hear that a lot. Focus on the joy. Find the joy in the journey. First, let's define what joy is. It's a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. Very simple. That's it. Just clear cut. A feeling of great pleasure and happiness. There are some pictures that look like people are having joy, finding joy in their everyday life. Look, there's some even running, and they probably are enjoying that. That's ridiculous. No, just teasing. Anyway, so what I found is that the more often we find joy in what we do, the more abundant the joy becomes in our life. We attract people who are joyful. We inspire people to be joyful. I think that gratitude and joy are synonymous, and we have to kind of really focus on gratitude in order to experience joy. If we wait for joy to find us, it just never will. We must seek out and find it, even in the difficult. So, we have these experiences that can be very hard, but we have to, through those, realize that that's our challenge, that's our path, that's our journey. And those are the things that are making us who we're meant to be. So let's talk more about that. But what you focus on is what you get more of. So here are some things you may not want to focus on, or you maybe are focusing on and you need to stop. So do you want more frustration in your life, or more difficulty, more hardship, more confusion? Then you can focus on those things. You can think about those things. You can think about the things that are holding you back, the things that aren't on your side, the things that are hard for you or that aren't your natural abilities. You can spend your time trying to figure those things out. And that is a major distraction. When we get hung up on those things, when we spend time thinking about the problems in our lives and focusing on problems instead of seeing them as opportunities to grow, we are unable to move past them. And a lot of times I see, even with myself, these regular occurring themes and things that keep popping up again and again that are hard and difficult. And even within my team, I see some things that I'm like, oh, well, that is happening because it happened already. Why does this keep happening to me? And it's something that I have to learn from and grow from and move past, or else it's just going to keep coming back and back and back. So if you want more joy and more fun and more success, more of the good things, more friends even, and more influence, more abundance, and even potentially more wealth, then you have to think about what you have already. You have to think about the joy that surrounds you constantly. Gratitude is a muscle that brings us everything we want right now. So, sorry, I couldn't remember if I had a slide, but I really liked that when it came out. I was like, gratitude is a muscle that brings us everything we want right now. For me, that's really big because we can spend our time thinking about, I'm not going to cry or anything, but we can spend our time thinking about what's next, where are we going, what's the point, all of those things. But if we focus on having the things that we want right now, we look around and are satisfied. That's gratitude, and that's a really big deal. So anyway, if you let that muscle atrophy, you will never get more of what you want. So I think I have a slide for this. I'm going to keep moving forward. This is another side note that it just occurred to me. Working toward your dream is the joy of knowing you're capable, not dissatisfaction with what you have, because I don't want you to be confused with thinking that striving towards bigger things is being ungrateful or not joyful. Those things are what we're alive to do, and striving to be a better person, striving to achieve new things, that's inherent in humanity. And so that's something that's a part of us, but we should be joyful that we have the ability and the talent and the specific things that are a part of our nature to do the things that we're meant to do. So anyway, I just thought that was an important part of especially for those of us who are entrepreneurs, we need to think about that all the time. What I'm capable of is exciting, and it doesn't mean that I'm dissatisfied with where I am. It just means that I'm capable of so many things, and I need to take advantage of that. Okay, if you aren't familiar with Laura Casey, she's a really great author who made the Power Sheets, and she says some really nice things. Comparison is the thief of everything. I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind. So it's not just the thief of joy, it's the thief of everything. So when you're thinking about those things that you want, don't make them the things that other people have. Don't make them the things that you see other people succeeding with, or that their talents are, or anything like that. You have to decide for yourself what you want, and not compare your journey to their journey. Okay, so a mind shift is necessary. We have to take control of our mind. We have to make a habit of gratitude. We have to make friends with people who are joyful. And that might mean trying to steer clear of the people who maybe drag us down, the people who aren't so good at being joyful all the time, maybe limiting our time with them. We have to change the way we experience things. So as bad things turn up, how does that influence your mood? How does it influence how you feel about your life? We're listening right now to a book called The 5 Habits of Leading from the Heart by Johnny Covey, who this book was recommended, I guess, at Cancun. I'm always stealing ideas from him. But it so far is really good. And his whole thought process is just reiterating the fact that our journeys are all different, and we have experiences that come up that are difficult. Their family went through some serious traumatic times, and financially speaking, and he said, it didn't really impact them negatively. It gave them a new experience. And I thought, well, how many people, spend their lives trying to recover from the time they went bankrupt, or the time they lost the job of their dreams, or whatever. And instead of that, they turned it on its head, and made it an opportunity to reevaluate what was really important in their lives. So anyway, I think that's an attitude that we all need to have on a daily basis. What is our experience? How are we taking advantage of all of those experiences in a joyful way? So some things that joy is not, because it may feel like this is true, but joy isn't comfort, and it isn't easy. It isn't luck. It isn't wealth. It's not friends. It's not things to do, or big houses, new cars, new ranks, or even being debt-free. Joy isn't worry, stress, or even hard work. And it certainly isn't doing what your friend has done, having what they have, or even wanting what they want. So I think in this day of online social interaction, it can be really easy to get caught up in what everybody else has, what they're doing, what their focuses are. And that is not joy. Joy is not, having the perfect, baby blanket, or whatever you're covering online. It could be random. You're like, oh, if only I had that blanket. My baby would be so cute in that blanket. So that's a silly example. But, but sometimes I do that. I'm like looking through Instagram. I'm like, oh, look at that cute baby. My baby doesn't have a beautiful blanket like that. Anyway, and this was something that, Crystal, what was the girl's name that Dave Ramsey's daughter?
Rachel Cruz.
She talked about that a little bit
about comparison and coveting. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She was just, talking about the whole hashtag blessed. She was mocking that a little bit. I think that's huge, because we are all blessed in different ways, whether it's, a healthy family, or, food to eat, or a house over our heads, or, even if you're living in a hut in, third world country, there's plenty to be grateful for just being alive. So, I just liked how she phrased it. She's like, no one wants to see a picture of my 1994 Honda, honestly, or whatever. And that's true. Sometimes we get hung up on those things. Oh, if I just had a car that worked, which has been a recent issue for me. And I talked about that a lot at Elite Retreat, because I've had some major car issues, which is my least favorite thing to deal with over the last few months. And it's all panned out to be ridiculously good, but in the beginning, it could have really derailed us. And it did. It had us questioning, okay, what as hard as it was, there was crying and tears, even though we had this week of difficulty, but through it, we looked at each other and we said, what is he trying to tell us? What is this conversation? So, anyway, I think that's a huge part of, manipulating it so that our experience is, not just the suffering. So anyway, so let's see, comparison is the thief of joy. It is the thief of everything. And joy is a skill that we all must master. And as we do, others will be drawn to us. Let me see if I'm up to date with our slides. There we go. Good. Sorry, I haven't done this PowerPoint yet, so it's going to be a little bit hairy, but, and then, ultimately our influence can be towards negativity or towards joy. So what is your influence towards? Is it towards negativity or is it towards joy? And not just, and I mean, that's on a personal level, what are your thoughts? Do they bring you down or are they bringing you up? Are the things you say, are they bringing your family down or are they bringing them up? I've heard it said that you never tell a child that they're a bad child. You shouldn't speak that over them. Because it makes it true and it makes them think that's true. And so one of the best things we can do are speak words, even when it doesn't feel true, over our children to help them get over that. There was recently a good video about a mom whose daughter was struggling to go to school every day. She just didn't have confidence. She wasn't doing well in school. So every morning she would wake up and spend about 3 minutes brushing this daughter's hair and just telling her how great she was and how confident she was and how smart and beautiful she was, and made that a daily habit. And it transformed this girl's life in the matter of months. Her schooling was just kind of overhauled. Because of that her mother decided to speak these words over her. Okay, so if you have printed out your thing, this is where you're going to start really writing some things down, because I'm going to list off some of the steps that you need to take in order to really kind of implement joy in the journey. So the first one, ironically for me, because I'm on the fence with thinking that whys are important, but I think they are, I think within reason. So know your why is the first one. And the quote that I've written down here is, the more you know who you are and what you want, the less things upset you. I think that's it's just from Bob, lost in translation, maybe. But I mean, that's so true. If you know who you are and what you want, you won't get distracted by what other people want or what other people want you to do. And I think that's huge. So if you know your why, then it really helps you maintain focus. So what do you want dōTERRA to do for your family and your lifestyle? What are the pillars of your life? So what does that mean? The pillars of my life, hold on, my notes are a little turned around, are the things that, are most important to you. For me, it's family life. For me, it's having a lot of time together as a family, and learning and education and fun and experience, and all of those things are pillars of our life. Faith, a pillar of our life. So what are the important things, the things that you want your legacy to look like, for your children's sake and for your children's children and so on? How do you want people to speak about you? And when you're there, when you're not there, when you're dead. So how is dōTERRA a good fit for helping you achieve these different goals? I think that's important, because if we can't make dōTERRA help us fill these goals, and not just long term, but today, if dōTERRA doesn't fit into these things today, then we're going to be drained and we're going to be tired, and our journey is not going to be full of joy. So if we are constantly and always sacrificing all our family time and all of those other things that are important to us in order to make dōTERRA goals, it won't be long-term success, or it won't be success at all, because the people who you are trying to recruit are not going to be interested in that kind of a lifestyle. So not to say that you can't make some sacrifices temporarily, but ultimately you have to safeguard those pillars. You have to safeguard those things that are important. We're going to talk about that more in a second. Okay, know your whats. This quote from Buddha is pretty powerful. Rule your mind or it will rule you. The same can be said about time. And when we talk about the next step, that's a big thing. But overcoming or moving forward means change. And the best way to change is to take charge of your mind. The best way to take charge of your mind is to do what your mind is telling you not to, because it's the thing that must be done. Sometimes we get caught in this circle of ease, the circle of convenience, the thing that we're used to doing. It could be negativity. It could be, not giving yourself time to recoup, or time to sort of pamper yourself and take time to refill you, to recharge you. And you can't skip those steps. You must tell your mind what you'll do and then do it. And that means success in finding joy and in accomplishing great things. And an example of that is Tony Robbins. If you haven't heard of him before, is a huge personal development guy. He's got, I don't know, probably countless books and does lots of trainings and things. But one thing he does every day, just to basically say to himself, to prove to himself that he has complete control of his mind, is in all of the houses he owns all over the world, he has a bath pool thing outside that's like 7 feet deep and like 2 by 2 square. It's like this weird little pool shaped thing. And he keeps it at a constant 57 degrees and jumps in it every morning and stays in it, underwater for a few seconds. And that is just, uncomfortable. Who wants to do that? No one wants to do that. But he does it as a way of proving to himself that he can, because it's his mind that's in charge and not his feelings. And I think that that's huge, because sometimes we feel things and it's okay to feel things, but to do the right things anyways is what character looks like and what leads us to our ultimate goals. So sometimes doing the what's makes it possible to feel the joy. Not feeling joy can mean you're doing the wrong things, and it's time to turn that story on its head by changing your actions. Sometimes we wait until we feel it to do it, and that's really the wrong angle. You have to start doing the actions. You have to start feeling, or not feeling the feelings, but saying the right things, changing your words, changing your actions. And if you don't take control of that, then it will take control of you. Your feelings will rule you instead of you ruling your feelings. So I think that's important. And so on your sheet in this section, I would love for you to write down 5 things that you can do that are different from what you normally do, but that would lead you or help you feel differently than what you automatically feel. Some examples are some affirmation statements. Those have been really powerful for me. Maybe it's finding a verse or a mantra or something that you can read every day out loud. Reading in your head is okay, but when you say these things and speak them out loud, it puts them out into the world. And it's interesting. I don't think I talk about this later, but something that I've learned a lot about when I did the training with Laura Jacobs was about the power of words. I do talk about it more later, so I'm going to save that. But that's really a neat thing. And if you haven't chosen like one word for this year, that's something that I think is really powerful and has been good for me. So, okay, make choices. This is the third thing that you need to do. The disciplined art of saying no. Crystal gave me this great book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And it's all about, what do we really want? What are we really good at? What are the things we want to spend our time doing? So we all have multiple interests, passions, and loves. We might be gifted in different areas, but we cannot do everything. We have to make decisions and we have to set boundaries for our time and our priorities. Now, if you have kids, this can be especially difficult because, our kids all have different talents. But once again, we have to weigh these choices against those pillars I talked about, against those things that are ultimately the most important. And sometimes that means saying no, even though a good opportunity presents itself. So we have to determine those priorities. If they're family time, fellowship, hobbies, jobs, say yes to the things that develop and grow you towards your ultimate goals or your ultimate why, and make sure you don't have too many of those. So that's why I think really honing in on what that why is, because every decision that can then be weighed against that so that you're more effective with everything you're saying yes to and no to. Set boundaries. Say no to activities and opportunities that aren't moving you towards your bigger goals. Set schedules and routines that will move you towards your goals, and don't be flexible. I know that oftentimes in the society we think flexibility is a good thing, but flexibility serves other people and doesn't serve you. And service is great, but if you're not serving yourself first, you can't serve others successfully. And ultimately, you know, if your why is about serving others, then that'll happen anyway. We don't need to be flexible about our goal and take every opportunity that pops up, just to make other people happy. We all thrive on routine and rhythm, habits and cycles, and it benefits us and our family to know what's coming, and when you'll have time to do the things you've committed to do. So if you're constantly saying yes as things pop up, without kind of safeguarding that rhythm that you have, you're going to get more and more frustrated. And so within your doTERRA journey, it's easy. You can say, I'm going to stick to having 2 classes a week max, you know, or 1 class a week max. Whatever your commitment is going to be, just make sure that's your commitment and be consistent about it. Because if you're, you know, overbooking constantly, you know, I think there's definitely a time where you can push to achieve goals. But if you're constantly doing that, you're going to drain yourself, and it's also not duplicable. You know, you're going to have these people looking at what you're doing and saying, yeah, no thanks. That's too much. I can't do that. And no offense to Crystal, but in her last business, that's exactly how I felt about it. You know? She worked her butt off and she did an amazing job, but it was not something I was interested in doing, because it was too much. And
I had definitely gotten to the point where there was not joy in it, and I was burned out because of it. So.
And you were definitely, I mean, you can be good at it even if you're doing, you know, doing the steps or whatever. And I think, I mean, even in Drew's business, we look at it and we assess it now and we're like, yeah, we hit a wall where that's as far as you can go, because it's not your zone of genius. It's not the place where you're meant to be. So I think it's interesting because, clearly you found a better route.
Yeah. The other interesting thing about it though, in 4 years in, is that I can see where people allow the same thing to happen in this business, which was hard for me to imagine, you know, but it doesn't really matter what you're doing.
Right.
If your focus is off and you're not being grateful and not having this art of saying no to the things that don't fit within where you are in that season, then no matter what, the most joyful thing that you would think, dancing or art or anything, become that way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me and Drew, that's what we've really been focused on. Like, okay, well, what is it that, you know, we can say, oh, we want to be presidential diamond. But, you know, there has to be more to it than just that. There has to be more to, like, okay, that's a goal. And I'm sure when we get there, we're not going to say, okay, I'm done. Like, okay, here we are. What are our other goals in life in terms of, you know, what have our passions been all along, and how do we tie doTERRA into that? What is the impact we want to have, with our children and with our community and all of those things. And so we really try to weigh what we're doing in that. And we have found so much good focus, and we've seen a lot of movement towards those goals just since we sort of spoke them and said what they are and wrote them down. Okay. So, definitely write 5 of these choices down. You know, what are some things you can say no to? What are the things you're definitely going to say yes to? Now, for me, with the kids, we have, you know, we homeschool. So we could be running around constantly all day long, every day, to different activities. And, you know, I'm not saying that wouldn't be lovely, but that's not what I want and not what Drew wants. We want to be on a homestead. We want to be here. We want to be working with animals and playing outside and relaxed and just enjoying what we have, connecting with nature. So we have to say no to some of the opportunities that pop up. One of the hard ones was the girls had an opportunity to be in the Nutcracker in the fall. And, you know, they had to try out, and it's a rigorous process. They have to be at their rehearsals, you know, 3 to 4 times a week. And then towards the end, it's like every night of the week for several hours, lots of driving back and forth. And, we just sat down with them, and they were upset. They really wanted to do it. And Drew and I said, this doesn't match where we are right now. You know, maybe in the future we can look at this again and reevaluate if it fits, but right now it doesn't fit. You know, we have this baby who needs to be home to sleep. You know, we have all these other things going on. We have to say no to this thing. So that's just an example of setting those goals. And even within doTERRA, we've had to do the same thing. And within doTERRA, I'll tell you, one of my favorite parts about it is when you're working with other builders, a lot of it you can share that, let them help you carry that weight. So say you enroll a new person, you don't have to take care of that person completely by yourself. You can place them under another builder who is going to help you take care of them, and that kind of thing. So do that, really call on your leaders to help you in that way. So, okay, knowing your niche is the next category, an important step in finding joy. It's fairly easy to tie in almost any passion with dōTERRA. It's a very complementary product to almost any profession or career. And so some of the examples when we did this at Elite Retreat that people came up with were great. One in particular was pets, pets and oils, having a lot of classes, becoming an expert in that. And I've noticed that people who really kind of find their niche and their group of people that they speak to, and they become experts in that specific area, grow really well and never seem to get tired of it. So for us, it's farming, gardening, homesteading, nature. And then tying in dōTERRA, we went to a sustainable agricultural conference in Kentucky this last week, Drew and I did together, which of course was fun for us. We wanted to go anyway, but tying in dōTERRA was just, it was a very natural, a natural move. And the people there, we know that they're into sustainable agriculture. So how does dōTERRA appeal to those people? I mean, there's countless ways, especially since a lot of them are farmers who need extra income. So then there's busy moms. So at events, mom groups, play dates, host play dates that are, revolving around the oils, family wellness, mom's nights out. So, I mean, there's lots. Then, if you're a doula or somebody who works with pregnancy and maternity care, that kind of thing. So really just think about that. What is your passion? Who do you want to serve the most? And who do you want to help, not just with the oils, but with the business opportunity? Other moms, other farmers, other people who love animals that, maybe work with rescue groups, that kind of thing. Okay, so relationships. This is the last thing, I think. Okay, so relationships. Having healthy and growing relationships is a key element to joy, and who you surround yourself is super important. We are the lump sum of the people that we surround ourselves with. So if you look around yourself and you're surrounded by people who are, satisfied with, their life as it is, not just in, their career or whatever, but they're just, not really into personal development. They're just good, kind of across the board. Maybe they're kind of negative. What they post on social media is always kind of like, whoever it is, you need to think about that. Maybe there's somebody out there that you really admire, but you're kind of intimidated by because they seem like they wouldn't be interested in hanging out. Well, push yourself, hang out with that person. If they are really, talented in one thing, it might be something that you can really gain from being around them. So really think about that. A simple way you can do that is by surrounding yourself with personal development opportunities. And that could be at events like local training events, elite retreats, but also reading is huge. Reading, listening to audiobooks, that kind of thing. Fill your brain with those kinds of things. Okay, so knowing your customers, applying this to your own business, knowing your customers and your potential customers. Oops, hold on. Find your niche. Sorry, I'm behind in my slides. Relationships. It's your zone of influence. It includes your potential enrollments. It includes the customers you already have, and then the builders you already have as well. Okay, so know your customers and your potential customers. What do they want? What is their oil story? What's their favorite product? Have opportunities to get to know them. So these are the people that maybe are already enrolled, already using the products, but maybe that you haven't connected with in a while. The We Miss You special, I think, was a really good opportunity for us to reconnect with a lot of those people in December. And hopefully you've kept that going and use that as an example of way that you can connect with these people, because those relationships are important. And if we enroll a person and say, okay, my job is done, and then go, why aren't they keeping their LRP? It's because that relationship has not been supported. So make and takes are an easy thing that you can do. Some customer appreciation type events, continuing education, and of course, continuing to privately invite them, continuing to reach out to them for their personal needs is something that's huge, and it means the world to people. How can you add value for them? How can you help them and serve them? Not how can I get them to keep an LRP? So, okay, so write 10 different things down to different people, different ways you can connect with people, just 10 different ideas in that little category. You can pause the recording to do that, but it might take some minutes. And I'll tell you, this writing process is very helpful for actually getting your thoughts out and making them a reality. Because like I said, we can think all day long, but if we don't write it down or say it, then we tend to forget it. So writing is a very powerful way to work towards your goals. So know your builders. This is the next thing in that same category, relationships. What do they want? What do your builders want? What is their end goal? Do they want to just have some added income, get their oils for free? Do they want to build a business? Are they interested in, I've heard some goals this week about adoption, working with children that need help. Those are all very moving stories. And when we know those things, it strengthens our ability to help those people, but also our motivation to do so. So what is their oil story? What oil experiences do they have? What is their current goal? Are they just trying to get to Premier, or are they working towards the bigger goal of, paying off their house? What are their strengths? Knowing what their love language is huge. Hang out with them. Do your best to make individual time for your builders. Go get coffee with them. Have phone calls with them. Make this a regular part of your life. And then your doTERRA journey isn't just about, having mentor calls, but it's about hanging out with people that you love. And that is a very natural way to be. So write down 5 enrolled or even unenrolled people that you would love to be builders, or you see as potentially builders in the long term. This quote, I'm sorry, I don't remember where it came from, but I really like it. I'm too busy to hate people who hate me because I'm too busy loving people who love me. There's a lot of power in that. If we, especially with what's going on the internet these days, that hit me hard because Facebook is killing me. My heart is heavy right now. And so I hope that you guys find some hope in that, because there are so many people to love, and it really is the only way through what we're going through. So anyway, if you're not enjoying the process, you're doing it wrong. Joy is in the process. It's not the destination. And I think that's important, because we think, okay, well, when I get this, I'm going to be good. When I, when I get to Cancun, it's going to be amazing. Or, when I, it could be when I get to silver, when I get to solid silver, then, I can rest and take it easy, or focus more on the things that I love. And, if every day you wake up and do something that you love to do, your life is going to just turn around. And if you also find love in the things that you have to do, how much better is that? Because there's so many things that we have to do. It would be powerful if we take those experiences and claim them and make them ours. So your story and process shouldn't look like everyone else's. As in any business, you have to make it your own. You can use the help of others, but you have to put your signature on it. New builders, this might be harder. First you just need to learn the ropes, but eventually you're going to know those ropes, and then you have to do it your own way. I may be the opposite. I did it my own way, and then I was like backtracking to figure out what was the right way, and now I do it my own way again. But it's okay to make those mistakes. That's okay. Don't be afraid of that. Clearly I didn't even have enrollment forms or order forms at my first 10 classes, maybe. I don't know who's counting. But I still managed to succeed. And I think it was because I was more interested in making sure everyone who came to my classes left with value, left with education, and, those relationships were really important to me. So I'm trying to bring that back. every job has some element that you're not going to love, but the more time you can spend in the things that you do love and find joy in, the more success will follow. Eric Worre is a really huge proponent of you doing, the relationship part of your business, because most people, that's where the joy is. And paying someone else to do the other things like mailing packages and whatnot. And as soon as you can start to do that, do it, because you want to liberate yourself from the things that aren't your zone of genius, the things that aren't the things that you're good at, because someone is good at those things. Someone is good at being organized. Someone is good at writing emails, or doing a newsletter, or making memes, whatever the thing is long term. Finding somebody who finds joy in those things is great. And one of the great parts about this business is that you can pass some of that stuff off eventually. The more success will come to you if you're able to really kind of just be in that zone of genius, that place where you find joy. Okay. Somehow all of the other things will fall into place. And I've even found that, if I just ignore the newsletter, I had all this pressure to do a newsletter, and not to say there's not something great about that, but it's not my zone of genius. I don't love it. It's drag every time it comes around in a new month. I'm like, oh, I really need to do that. And so one of the things I've been evaluating is, do I have to do that? Maybe I could pay someone else to do it, but ultimately it's not going to make or break my business if I don't do a newsletter. Most of the people on my team have great information from my upline or from their builders above them. So I need to focus more on maybe individually connecting with people, and I can let that slide. What I've noticed, that people who are successful aren't really necessarily that great at all the parts of dōTERRA you think you have to be great at. They're maybe kind of slack on even teaching classes, but they talk to people individually. Or I'm trying to think of another. They don't have a great website, but they're presidential diamond. And you're like, well, wait, they don't have a great website. That's not their zone of genius. It's not where they've put their focus. I think Casey Baudry, well, who was it? Natalie Wasaki just joined Facebook or something?
Yeah. Well, she's been on Facebook, but she didn't have a page, and she didn't have a group. And when we Lacey was actually the first person I knew, for several people above, below, beside me, that had the idea to have a Facebook group. And she loved it and was excited about it, and leads this great Facebook group. And I kind of came on hesitantly, but saw the value in it and decided to do it too. And then later, our upline Blue Diamonds decided they should have one. And only recently did Natalie Wasaki decide to just have a public page. I don't even still think that there's private groups, and that might not be your thing. I know there's people who are leaders on my team that don't want to take the time to manage and run a Facebook group. For me, it's fun, and I have to limit my time because I enjoy it so much.
Yeah, exactly.
But other people, if that's not your thing, like Lacey said, then let someone else, just add them to the groups that are already there, and let them get their support from our groups that we offer for all of our teams. And you can focus on the things that you're really good at and that bring you joy. And that's one of the things I love, if I can do a shameless plug for the Strengths Finder assessment, because the training that we had and the things that I've gone through about that, it's really helped me to understand myself better, and why certain things bring me joy and others do not. And why, I look at someone else and think, well, that brings them joy. Why shouldn't it bring me joy? Maybe I'm doing it wrong, and it's not about that. It's about our unique talents and attributes and how we can make those strengths, but they can be weaknesses if we're not careful to use them the way that we're designed to. And finding out the strengths of leaders on our team, as we build bigger teams, that's really important too, because otherwise you're not going to see eye to eye on everything. But if you understand, this is just how she's using her strength, or this is how I can encourage her to use that talent and turn it into a strength for her business, instead of thinking we need cookie cutters, because we don't, and that would be really boring, and nobody's business is going to look exactly like someone else's. And like Lacey said, there's people who are very successful who always do classes or never do classes, or always do a newsletter or never do a newsletter. That's not what it's about. It's sharing the oils, getting them into people's hands, sharing why you're passionate about them, and educating people in the way that's true to you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that can be hard because we get swept up in the EDGE system or the share success system or whatever. And actually in the last, I confessed this the other day, in the last few weeks, I've been like, you know what? I'm not going to train any of those systems anymore. because they're out there, they're available. If somebody wants them, that's great. But I'm not a systematic person, and I have to embrace that. And I'm glad to share what I know about them if somebody asks me, but I can't try to box myself into those.
Well, and I think that's an important statement, though, that you understand what they are, and you can speak about them, because that's going to duplicate. Someone else on your team is going to love a certain system, and someone else is going to love a different one. And at least having a little bit of knowledge to be able to say, this is what I like about this one, and this is why I chose not to go with that one or did choose this one. And mixing and matching is fine, but if we overwhelm people without any kind of system and just duplicate me, that's where we get into cookie cutter things that don't work for other people. And but you have a handle on what they are, and you can tell people about that. And if you don't do one-on-ones, you only do classes, you're missing out on something that you could share with a future builder or even current sharer, or something that it's okay to build your business on more one-on-ones than classes, if that's what works for your schedule and your life. And we have an upline presidential diamond, Casey Vaudry, who did just that. So it works. And I can teach you a little bit about how to do that. I don't do very many of them myself, but I've tried it out and I've done a few, and I've learned this by watching training. That's just being equipped, I think, so that you can equip others, even if it's not the way you choose to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So just some notes to remember. Let me see what the next slide is. Okay. Yeah. So, remember that in whatever you're doing, you do have a great influence, but you can't have two influences. You either, and there's scripture that kind of goes along with this. You can't have two masters. And, so I think it's important to kind of keep that idea in our head throughout all of this, of like, we either are an influencer of joy or an influencer of negativity. There's not a middle ground, and you can't do both. You can have bad days, certainly, and no one would hold that against you, but our joy is not our happiness. Our joy is our claim on the gifts that we have been giving. So we have to find those, and we have to claim them, and we have to practice that gratitude, and speak about that gratitude, and influence others to find it for themselves as well. So practice. Words create our reality, and our thoughts make our words, and our hearts feel our thoughts. They're a muscle, and we must train in order to find success. This world was spoken into existence with words, only words, and we are fearfully and wonderfully created by those. So what can we make with our words? So I was mentioned briefly that my training with Laura Jacobs, she talked a lot about words, and it just kind of brought it all into perspective. And there's actually a guy that did a ton of experimentation with words and the power of just like writing a word on the side of a jar, or now they're actually using words on lakes that are polluted in China or Asia somewhere, maybe it was Japan. And that is helping to actually clean these lakes. I mean, it's just impressive and powerful to think that, if we speak words of goodness, then, good things come from that. So the website, if you wanted to look at that information, is heydo.com. It's kind of hard to navigate, but it's very interesting. And there's some studies that you can find online if you search for Masuro Emoto, Masuroemoto. And it's just really, really fascinating, but also enlightening, because we have the control of what we say and even what we think. We just have to exercise good thoughts. So let's see, write down together. This is an exercise. What are some thoughts that maybe rob joy from your life? It could be anything like, oh, I'm not silver yet, and I don't think I'll get there this year, or I just can't get any builders on my team. None of my builders are doing anything. I'm doing all of the things. No one comes to my classes. Those are some thoughts and things that we say that make it more and more true. The more we say it, more that we think it, the more it is our truth. So what can we say or do to replace that? My builders are still learning, and I'm helping them to find their, how helping them to find their own passions and their own abilities. How can we speak over them? Maybe through prayer, maybe through words of affirmation in our own minds. That can really go far. So lastly, go enjoy and abundance will follow. That's it. That's all I had to say about it.
That's awesome. I love that ending statement, because it's not just abundance in anything material. It's abundance of what's in your heart and your thoughts and who you are. And just, breathing that confidence and being who you were meant to be, and having just an abundance of joy, really, to give to others around you and to share with others around you. And I thank you for putting your heart into this. I know that after you created it originally, you told me how good it was for you. And I find that's often true when you're getting ready to teach something or train on something to other people. You end up learning more about it yourself than you expected. And that's what I love about our classes too. If you feel like you don't know enough, go out and just get ready to teach it to someone else, and you'll learn so much in the process. And I hope you'll share this concept with your team members. The handout is there for you to use with others. And I love that that's something we get to do as leaders in our businesses and help others grow personally. I would just love for our trainings to help everyone grow to their maximum potential, and really to continue to find joy and purpose and fulfillment in their journeys in life and in their business. And I'm thankful for great leaders like Lacey to help make that possible, and to round out just the personalities and the differences and similarities in our team members. It's really a beautiful thing to watch as it grows. So I hope that this helps and blesses you and helps you to find more joy and remember what it's really about, what your why is, and what really your purpose is, and how dōTERRA is one of the things that's been given to you to help you reach that.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks again. You all make it a great month. And if you're watching this later, you'll miss out possibly on the giveaway, but I will have a giveaway for everybody to enter after you watch this in the month of February 2017. But I think this is one of those that will be shared again and again and be pretty timeless. So continue to share it with others and just kind of pay it forward with joy. Bye.
Thanks, Crystal. Bye.
Thank you.